You'll hear the statements of people say it's 80% nutrition, 20% training. That's nonsense. It's 100% everything.
The stomach is a muscle. If you keep jamming food down it and you don't listen to yourself saying, okay, you're full, it just grows.
For every 5 kilograms of weight that you gain, it takes 12 months for you to adapt, physiologically speaking, for your organs. Explain a little bit about what is involved to the individual who may be thinking about doing a gastric band.
The doctor used to say to us, he tried to instill in me that the surgery was for weight loss, but it was to ensure that I developed new eating habits. If you don't develop the right eating habits post-surgery, you will put the weight back on. When you do commit to something, it's achievable.
Welcome to the Diet Doctor podcast, where we discuss the science of nutrition and high performance, offering practical tools for everyday life. Okay, welcome to the next episode of the Diet Doctor podcast. I'm here, Moody Danawi, with a very dear friend of mine today who has a lot of information to partake with, a lot of knowledge that he has to share with us. And as I say, knowledge hoarded is futile. Only when it is shared does it truly become wisdom. And this man, although you may have not seen him on the screens, in your socials or anything else like that, he has a story that a lot of us can relate to. A story of surgery, a story of transformation, a story that a lot of us are going to find familiarities with. And I am looking forward to sharing his journey with you. My dear friend, Mr. Jason Commisso. How are you, Jason?
Good, thanks, Moody. How are you?
Not bad. We'll start with a very basic question, and that is, what brought you here today? Where did your journey start from the very, very beginning when you decided to do your first gastric surgery?
Well, my journey started with my first gastric surgery. I was 24 years old.
Wow.
I was 12 months retired from professional football, and I think I gained about 22 kilos in 12 months from when I stopped competing. And my family's always genetically just been big. I watched my father do the surgery, my uncle do the surgery, cousins do the surgery. Wow. And I remember having a conversation with my old man and said, I want to do it. And he goes, you don't need it. You can just train, diet, you'll be all right. You're young enough. And I remember saying, Dad, but prevention is better than a cure. I don't want to wait. It's inevitable. I'm going to be big. I enjoy food. I think I need it. And then obviously with his support and the family support, I went ahead and done the first surgery back then, which was the gastric band. And yeah, I did lose a lot of weight with the surgery. I remember when I did it, I think at my heaviest I was 126 kilos.
Wow. What year was that?
That was 2005. And yeah, I went down to 79 kilos.
Wow, that's almost half your body weight.
Half, yeah. I think it was a good 47 kilos.
How many family members did the surgery?
Oh, since then, I've had 1, 2, 3.
Wow, using more than two hands.
I would say, yeah, 11 family members have done the surgery between gastric band and the gastric sleeve.
Successful?
No, not all have been successful. I'd say more than half have put the weight back on.
Well, that's one thing I wanted to share with the listeners is that a lot of people do regret this surgery. It's statistically speaking, it's one of the most regretted surgeries in the history of surgical procedures, of up to 85% of regret rate. But I don't know what is more dangerous, losing such a profound amount of weight or gaining 22 kilograms of body weight, like you mentioned earlier. Because I don't know if many people know this or not, but for every 5 kilograms of weight that you gain, takes 12 months for you to adapt, physiologically speaking, for your organs. So if you gain 5 kilos, that means, within a couple of weeks, you might feel like, you're not as winded, you can go up the stairs and you feel like you've acclimated to the new 5 kilos. But in actual fact, it takes 12 months for your body to adjust to that 5 kilos. So that would be 4 years of an adjustment based on 22 kilos. From there, you went on to do the gastric sleeve. What made you make that decision? What led you to that decision?
It's what I think at the time. What made me make that decision was I had a lot of reflux a lot of burning sensation. And with the gastric band, there was a lot of regurgitation as well, because if you found you ate too quick or didn't chew your food, it had nowhere to go, so you just regurgitate it. And I was sort of getting to that point where I was over having those symptoms. But then also I saw a lot of people do the gastric sleeve and it was proving quite successful. Mm-hmm. And there wasn't those symptoms of reflux and regurgitation, and you got to eat a wider range of food. Like it was very restrictive with the gastric band. Like I couldn't eat bread, like even having a sandwich, a hamburger affected me because of the way you would chew it and the way to go down. It'd just block you straight away.
So it wouldn't be a problem while you were eating. The problem would kick in after the deed has been done. So it's a bit too late.
Too late.
Okay.
And I I found it difficult to eat meat. And so over the years I worked out what I could and couldn't eat, but then I also put the weight back on, which was the main driver. It wasn't so about the habits. It was, the doctor did say I was a case that he'd never seen weight yo-yo as much as mine did. So for example, I got down to the 79 kilos, but I managed to hold my weight about 86 kilos. Mm-hmm. And
Italian family, mate.
Yeah, we enjoyed. They were our memories. Yeah. But what happened to me was with the band, I got back to 119 kilos.
Wow.
I went back to training and I managed to get myself down to 108. I went back to
quite an achievement.
Now this what I'm going to tell you now, from 119 to 108 to 114 to 101. I think I did that in the space of 6 to 8 months.
Wow. The skin elasticity must have been traumatized.
It's just extreme. Like it was just a mental thing for me. When I'm on, I'm on. When I'm off, I'm off. Like if I'm not training and dedicated to training, I can't get my diet right. I can't do one or the other, which I think is just a habit of mine.
A lot of us, but it's not just you. A lot of us tend to try and overcompensate with one and not the other. Like you'll hear the statements of people say, it's 80% nutrition, 20% training. Then some will say, no, it's 60% nutrition, 20% supplementation, 20% training. That's nonsense. It's 100% everything, as you've learnt in the last 10 weeks.
Look, I've learnt that, and that's always been my mentality. If I'm not training, I don't want to eat properly. If I'm not eating properly, I don't want to train. So it's either I'm doing nothing or I'm fully committed to the journey. So I think that's a lot of the reason why my weight went up and down, because I could focus on a certain amount of time, but then once that's finished, it would balloon on me. So
it was never a lifestyle?
No.
Okay.
No, it never became a lifestyle. So getting to that I thought the sleeve might be a better option because, like I said, I got back to the 119 kilos, and what I learned over the years and what I learned from the first surgery, I just say to people, it's harder to do the surgery than to train and eat well, because if you're not ready mentally, you can't turn back to it.
The mental preparation is a big part of it. I think when I was looking at the studies, a lot of the major reason for people regretting it is they didn't feel like they were equipped with the necessary tools after the surgery, post-op, to be able to have success. They weren't prepared for the reflux that they are going to experience. They were not prepared for the very limited amount of food that they could eat and how it affects their social life. They weren't prepared for the malabsorption component of the surgery, because it's not a coincidence. Malabsorption is part of the process and part of the goal of the surgery, so that you cannot absorb food or as much food as you normally would, and hence can't gain the weight. But with that malabsorption comes a malabsorption of also micronutrients and even your macros. You can't absorb calcium, your B vitamins, vitamin D is limited in terms of its absorption, and that's something that people are not prepared for. However, the company that you worked with, all those resources are available, but does everybody tap into them? Because they do. It's quite a good company. The company that you showed me was quite a good company. Yeah,
look, who I went through the surgery offered all that support. They had, you were on a 12-month program. You met the doctor, you met psychologists, dietitians, physiotherapists, Everything was available to you. But, you know, in actual fact, no, you don't utilise it. It's there. And, you know, me personally, I went and saw every one of those. I must admit, I did see the psychologist, but I saw the nutritionist and the physiotherapist and the doctor, of course. And everything you mentioned, the nutrition advised me that's where I was lacking. They gave me full supplement kit, which I didn't take. I was lacking in vitamin D, which I didn't worry about. And yeah, that's probably the most negative thing I did. I didn't listen to that advice going through. And you're right. They gave me support, but I didn't use it. And if I can talk about other family members that went through the same process, they didn't use it either.
Yeah, it's strange because a lot of companies a lot of doctors that offer this surgery don't have the support network that the company that you used has.
Yeah.
So really there is no excuse. But it's interesting how human beings, even when offered the support, will not go in that direction. We take multivitamins for granted. We assume that, you know, I can just make sure that I eat enough fruit and veg and I'll be okay. It's not the case. You are very, very restricted. And I've seen people who do this surgery in the very beginning who don't take their supplements have almost a yellowy, jaundiced type appearance, a malnourished type of appearance.
Yeah.
Now, it's quite an invasive surgery. The first one that you got done, which was the band, explain a little bit about what is involved to the individual who may be thinking about doing a gastric band, and from a surgical perspective, what did the doctor discuss with you?
Okay,
like what was he going to do with you?
So in layman terms, the best way to describe it is so you got your stomach, and then just obviously your esophagus goes into your stomach, and he gets the laparoscopic band, silicone, and he ties that around your esophagus to create. So that band sits between your stomach, around the top of your stomach, and then creates a pouch above the band.
About 30 cc, 30 mils, an ounce.
Approximately, yeah. So that creates like a second stomach. So what that tries to tell your brain is that when that little pouch is full, got food in it, you're full. You can't eat anymore. So that's supposed to restrict what you eat. And then that slowly filters into your stomach, and that's the process. That's what I understood about gastric. Yeah? It's adjustable. So that's, at the time, there was gastric band when I did it, and gastric sleeve was being spoken of. And I also remember this, I just said, no way will I ever do gastric sleeve, because you're going to cut your stomach out and you can't go back.
Correct.
What I loved about the band was I could go for a holiday and I'd make an appointment with the doctor, and I said, Doc, I'm going away. You go come in and put a needle into where the band was.
With the saline,
and he just take the saline out of the band and open it up, so I had a bigger pouch and I could eat more when I was away.
And enjoyed the vacay.
Enjoyed the vacation. Then when I'd come back, I say I'm back, and I'd go in and he'd get the same thing and put saline back in and tighten the band, and then I'd restrict my eating. So that's what excited me about doing the band, was I always had the flexibility, which in a way probably I mentally wasn't ready to do it, but that's what got me over the line to do something.
Did you have a significant scarring from it?
Yeah, I did. So there's 5 scars, little ones around the stomach area and the belly button, but the main one where the band went in is probably about, maybe 5 centimetres wide. Yeah. But I also, I'm not sure, was it because of the way I carried my body fat, but when I took my shirt off, you could see a lump just above my stomach.
Protruding.
It was protruding. And I always asked the doctor, I said, like, this hurts me, like leaning against the table, or like just sitting at my office.
Scar tissue?
A lot of scar tissue. And he just said, look, just the way it carries, you're always going to have that lump there. Because I even inquired at one stage to try and push it back a bit so you couldn't see it. But that never eventuated. But
and it probably showed more the leaner you got, the less weight, the more weight you lost.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. And did you have go on?
No, you're right.
Did you have trouble with initially with the getting used to what you look like in the mirror?
No, not really. I just did it because I was overweight. Yeah. It never bothered. Not that I was fat. Don't get me wrong. But
But it was muscle and fat because you genetically. I've worked with you. You genetically carry muscle quite easily.
Yeah.
You're more of a mesomorph than you are an endomorph at the moment. And you're probably a combination of both.
I was always fit growing up, and I trained like until 23. I literally stopped training, got married, had my first child on the way, and that 12 months. It went on, and I knew it would just keep going because I just saw what my family was like.
Yeah,
like I don't want to get to a size where it's going to take me a lot to come back. So that was my driver, but it wasn't so much how I looked. It was just affecting my lifestyle. Like I couldn't brush my teeth without taking a breath.
Wow.
There was impacts. Like I got short arms, so doing things was difficult. Like just washing myself, I couldn't get my hand around my back. And
wow.
That were the things that I knew, okay, you're getting a bit too big now, you got to sort this out. And I would diet and I would train, but once I got to 126, like I could get back to 110 and it still wasn't good enough. I really needed that extreme approach to get to where I was comfortable, which I'm always happy walking around the mid 80 kilos.
One thing that stuck with me was a patient of mine who I worked with and became a dear friend. Bill, he went from 265 kilos down to about 83.
Wow.
Multiple surgeries to remove loose skin. Every 50 kilos, we'd go on a recovery diet, remove some loose skin. We ended up on the morning show. As soon as I posted his before and after, it was insane. You can imagine it's 1/3 of his weight. We ended up on every network after that. And one of the things that stays with me till now is, but he broke my heart when he told me about it. He was still getting up and going to the big man store to get big man clothes at 83 kilos.
Yeah.
And he'd be walking around the store and the staff would be confused.
Yeah.
What are you doing here, mate? Like, he said, I'm here to buy some clothes. And they said, for yourself, or are you buying it for someone?
Yeah.
And then he'd look in one of the mirrors nearby and realize I'm not him anymore.
That's right.
And it took a while. Did you experience any of that sort of thing?
I can't say not to that extreme where I wasn't aware. Look, I got to be honest. I lost all that weight and I wasn't happy because I've had so many family members do it. Like when they lose the weight, we joke like, "Oh, you're going through that sick phase." He'll come good or she'll come good because you look sick. Like you talk about the jaundice, the yellow skin, your bones are showing.
That doesn't go well with the Wog family.
No, it doesn't. Like what have you done? And some try to keep it a secret and you can't. You just like you look sick, but you come good. And that's what I say. You get to your minimum and then you're always going to put that 5 or 8 kilos back on. And I just say it's inevitable. And then that's when you find that's your balance. And then it takes a lot of discipline again to maintain that. Because what I've found and what I learned about the stomach sleeve too, I don't know if I'm incorrect here, but a stomach is a muscle.
Correct, yeah.
So I'm assuming that if you keep jamming food down it and you don't listen to yourself saying, okay, you're full, it just grows.
Yeah.
Hence you
what it can accommodate is...
It accommodates your increase in portions and then you put your weight on again. But just getting back to the band, when I did go to one of the seminars with the nutritionist and you listen to people, they're like, I'm gaining weight. And the dietitian would say, well, what are you eating? Oh, and when you finish the surgery, you got 2 weeks of fluids and then 2 weeks of puree food.
Okay.
And then you got to slowly introduce solids. So there's
process.
It's a process.
Yeah.
But like some people that were going through the puree stage were generally blendering McDonald's burgers.
Oh, wow.
Mars bars.
I've never heard that.
Chocolates.
Yeah.
And I'd listen and I'd just go, well, no wonder why you're not losing weight.
You're drinking the calories, the same amount of calories.
Same amount.
Yeah, one of the things that I was listening to a doctor speak, I think his name is Dr. Alvarez, and he was talking about the 6 essential things to not do post-op for these particular, variations of bariatric surgeries. And one of them was make a solid effort to be conscious of what you are drinking as a beverage. Do not consume calories through liquid because you could consume very easily the same amount of calories that you did when you were bigger with little to no effort on behalf of the digestive system. One of the other things that was interesting was don't chew gum too often because your taking in air during chewing gum, drinking through a straw. You can take in air. And these things are only temporary, but you have to be conscious of them, especially in the first 3 months.
Yeah.
Because it's only going to hurt.
Yeah.
Was it painful after post-op, and for how long?
I would say with the sleeve, we'll talk about the sleeve. That's the most recent one I had, which was 3 years ago. I think I was 3 nights in hospital. And then when I got home, I had to lay down and not do anything for a good 3 to 4 days. But then it was a good 6 weeks. You couldn't lift. You know, like if you've got a physical job, you can't do that. You got to be very conscious for the first, for the 2 weeks. But so 2-3 days probably was in quite a bit of pain. But just like the water, you can only drink this much.
Wow.
Like and that's it. The food quantities is.
You take electrolytes?
Did I?
Did you have? Okay.
No, I didn't.
Wow.
I didn't. I went through that real sick phase. I don't know. I believe I developed kidney stones over it because of a lot of weight. I developed gallstones over it and got my gallbladder taken out.
Were you warned about these things?
Not that, no.
Okay.
No, not directly. I assumed it because I watched my dad go through it.
Right.
We thought Dad was having a heart attack one night and it was his gallstones. And rushed him to hospital and he got his gallbladder out. So I watched a lot of things through what he did. But the doctor used to say to us, he tried to instill in me that the surgery was for weight loss, but it was to ensure that I developed new eating habits.
Mm-hmm.
That if you don't develop the right eating habits post-surgery, you will put the weight back on. Like he did have that discussion with me.
He was brutally honest.
He was brutally honest with me. And that's the advice he did give me, and that advice did stick with me. But his other advice too was, if you don't eat, you don't put weight on.
Really?
So it's quite simple. If you don't put food in your mouth, you don't gain weight.
Yeah.
So then, in a way,
indirectly telling you not to eat.
Don't eat.
Yeah.
So before we get to talk about what I've just endured with yourself, which is just something I've learned and blows my mind, but then I got into this. I don't want to eat breakfast, so I would only eat lunch and dinner, and I'd avoid snacking, and the less I put into my body, and
such an unhealthy relationship with food.
I had a very unhealthy relationship with food, and I didn't want to eat, and I just ate enough just to get through the day. And I got to like low 80 kilos. Yeah. But I wasn't happy because I always had that.
How could you if you're hungry all the time?
Hungry, no energy. No. In that late afternoon, I'd have to find somewhere to have a 10-minute sleep. Like the joke of my families and friends, just put this guy in the corner for 10 minutes and let him have his sleep and then he'll come good. Like there's photos of me at the races, just sleeping at the table, and my mates put the coats around me, just have a quick 10 minutes so I can last the rest of the night.
The other gentleman that I was talking about earlier, Bill, same thing. His family would make signs out of cardboard and put them, because he would always doze off, and they'd make like ridiculous and funny slogans, put them on him, take photos, and He'd laugh at it, but it really did affect him psychologically. It really does get to you. Yeah. You've had family members that haven't succeeded, and I'm not going to mention names, but family members that are close to you that I've met that have done this surgery and gained more weight than what they started with, or as a bare minimum back at the same weight. Yeah. Where is their headspace at now after seeing the transformation that you've made? And we're going to go into detail about what the next phase was for you post gastric sleeve. Yeah.
Oh, look, I think most people that saw what I did and what I went through, pretty impressed and pretty pleased just for me personally, for what I achieved. As far as their headspace and what they do, they're in the same rut that I was. Mm. You always say you want to do something. You start making an effort and you go get a gym membership and you start training.
I'll start Monday.
And I'll start Monday and you get your meals and you bring them healthy to work, and you can see we all tried, but it's so hard just to change that. You call it lifestyle to keep it consistent.
So what we did was very, very gradual. We embarked, and Jason reached out to me and said, "You know what? I'm going to do this. My doctor told me that I'll never have a six-pack."
Yep.
And props to the doctor for giving you all that great advice about micronutrients and everything else, but he was wrong about that one.
He was.
Because we were adamant that we were going to get you in competition condition, if you could call it that, by doing a very stringent 10-week preparation to see what you are capable of doing and what somebody who has the type of metabolism that you have could achieve. And you came in with the right mindset. And if I told Jason, mate, you're eating 165 grams of brown rice, for instance, and he weighed his food and it was 5 grams over, he would take the excess out.
Yeah.
Like, not many people are that diligent, but you knew that you had to be that way to get the results that you wanted. What made you reach out and say, you know what, I'm going to do this in 10 weeks, and you guys are going to see the difference in the before and afters as well? It's remarkable.
Good. That's good, because I clearly know. 3 years ago now, I did the stomach sleeve, and I got down to 79 kilos, and I was set at 83 to 85 kilos for 18 months. And then I watched myself get back to 96 kilos.
Over how long?
2 years.
Okay.
That's all it lasted. And at 96 kilos, I looked at him, I said, what are you doing? You've done the second surgery. I even said to the doctor, I said, listen, doc, tell me, can I do this surgery again? Like, can I put the weight on, 10 years come back and we'll cut the stomach out again? Just to give me my mindset that I can go back.
You wanted a plan B.
Yeah, I wanted a plan B, dead set. And he didn't answer me. He wouldn't give me an answer. He said, you just focus on keeping your weight down, and that was that. I said, righto. So at 96 kilos, 12 months ago, the family went overseas. My wife and 2 kids went overseas for my daughter to compete in sport over in America. And I had no distractions at home. And I said, okay, I'm going to start. So the morning they left, genuinely, I cleaned the fridge out, threw everything out of the cupboards, just straight in the bin, threw it out, and I said, I'm going to start. So then at that point, I started just trying to get back to my training regime with weights and light cardio, and I trained with my dad. So that started 12 months ago. We were training 6 days a week, every morning at 5:30 in the morning. And for 12 months, and the family came back after 2 months, but for 12 months, I managed to stay consistent.
Dad helped a lot with that.
Dad was a massive support.
Yeah. How old is Dad?
Dad is 73, turning 74 in October.
Champion.
And I'll mention him a little bit more when we talk about this phase we're going to talk
he's
about.
A machine.
But for these 12 months, I managed to, that mindset, where I still didn't have a good relationship of food with my body. It was just eat at lunch, eat at dinner, and I barely snacked, and I didn't eat unhealthy food. I just ate what I thought was right. So I managed to maintain 83 to 85 kilos. I must admit, I went on a couple of holidays to Europe, and I went to America, and I still didn't put the weight on. But I was still training when I was away, still walking when I was away, and I stayed consistent.
Good habits.
Yep. And I got to the point where I've just lost all this weight in 12 months. I'm happy how I look, but I'm not that happy. And enough of my own knowledge has got to where I am today, and I really needed the help of somebody who's, obviously this is their expertise, nutrition and training. Hence why I reached out to yourself, because we've done a few things in the past.
Correct.
And obviously we achieved great results back then. But this was the first time I knew that I was coming to you in the best shape I could possibly be, because I've come to you when I was 120 kilos and 110 kilos. And I thought this is the best time I could ever give myself the focus and attention for 10 weeks that I'd be able to stick with what you would be able to tell me. And I really just wanted abs. As silly as it sounds, I've never had abs.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Never had it.
Even when you were younger?
Even when I was playing, even when I was playing professional sport, I still never had abs. I always carried that bit of body fat to take the hits and that in rugby league, but I just genetically never had them.
Okay.
And I wasn't like, even as a young kid, maybe when I was 12 I had them, but not that they popped
But they
out.
weren't on the agenda when you're playing rugby because you have to have a little bit of body fat to take the hits. Now, some people are naturally leaner than others, and that goes down to their body type, and the skeletal structure is meant to accommodate for a certain amount of weight, and that's dictated from the day that you're born. And abs are not going to help you score tries, as I've told footy players in the past that have come to me and told me, I want a six-pack. Yeah. I want to look like SBW. I'm like, you don't want to look like him. You want to play like him.
That's right.
But when did the abs start coming through from the 10-week journey? When did you notice that this is an achievable goal?
Because I think I was imagining I had them in week 1 to keep me going.
That's the spirit. That's the spirit.
Week 1, I was looking, going, they're coming. Yeah. But look, I'd probably say week 7 to week 8, maybe week 8, I started thinking we're going to get there. I had think this is going to work. Week 8, week 7, I still clearly remember. It was Friday, 7th of June. Was the worst day for me in that period.
Bit of fogginess.
Bad. My headspace was like, this is no good. And I even remember in the morning walking down to the gym with Dad and just going, why am I doing this? This is pathetic. And true to that older generation, does this cost you money?
Yeah.
I said, yes.
That's what Dad said,
Yeah, he goes, it's cost me money. Yeah. And what, you're willing to throw it away? You're 3 weeks away, you spend the money, you don't care about money. That's the problem with your generation. You never think about what it costs you. And I looked at him and went, yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's 3 weeks to go, we can do this. And got over that hurdle and obviously had a conversation with you that day, and the next day you checked up on me and got through that. But that was that worst little period, them couple of days. And then the rest of it I seemed to manage pretty good with the support network I had.
Yeah, you did really well. Like we would meet and talk on a regular basis. We'd catch up for a coffee on a regular basis. We'd have chats that lasted anywhere from 20 minutes to 2 hours. But you did have a solid network. You had Nick by your side, who was a phenomenal help. You had your father with you training all the time. Nick introduced us. And Nick always cared about the people around him a lot more than the average person did. And if he didn't believe in you as much as you did, and your dad didn't, and to go back to what your father said, that you've spent money on this. Sometimes our parents will word things in a certain way, but it has a lot more meaning, a lot more depth. And by an expense and by spending, he's also talking about time. Because the one thing that you're not going to get back is time. So you've gone, 7 weeks into this journey. You're 3 weeks, there's 3 weeks to go. You got to see it through. They weren't a generation of quitters. If they started a course, they'd finish it, even if they didn't like it. And that's I think that's probably where he was coming from when he made that statement. I
think so. So this 10-week journey, we trained every morning at 5:30, some mornings 5 o'clock. And by the end of it, it was an hour weights, 45 minutes cardio, and then another hour walk in the afternoon. All specific time frames that you set. And there was just no excuses through the whole thing. And sometimes I got up in the morning, I had to go pour concrete, 7 o'clock in the morning. Wow. But I'd go to the gym at 4 o'clock. Just so
made it happen.
Get my 2 hours in, leave at 6, get to the job. And not that I stayed all day on the job, but I helped the boys get the concrete in and I'd take off. It was just a matter of no excuses, but every minute I trained, my father was by my side.
That's phenomenal.
And because fortunately enough, we got the gym at home, and I train at home, and I turn up to his house. He'd be sitting in there in the morning with an espresso and a cigar.
And a cigar as well,
waiting for me. The guy doesn't.
Like the Godfather.
He doesn't sleep. And come on, let's go down. All right, let's go. And
we even got him involved in the photo shoot at the end.
We did.
So Jason organised a photo shoot at the end, and if you're listening to this, I don't want you to think there's anything superficial about that. There isn't whatsoever. But this is a moment that Jason wanted to remember. And what better way than to organise a photo shoot? And when you knew that you were going to do that at the end, that sort of kept you on track too.
Oh, definitely. Because I'm also a believer that if I'm going to do something, not that I share it with the world, but I do share it with people that are close to me, because it helps me be accountable to.
Yeah.
And I've also got 2 young girls at home. And I did want them to see that when you do commit to something, it's achievable. And I sort of wanted to instill that in them as well. And we were sitting at the table one night and they couldn't understand why you're doing this, Dad, because I think at home everyone was a bit frustrated with the mindset I had, being so due diligent with the meal prepping and everything.
Yeah.
Actually, I was talking to my cousin, and then I went home and told my kids the idea. I said, look, I'm talking to my cousin and this is what we think. Mum's having a special birthday this year in November. Why don't I make her a calendar? And
awesome.
The kids lost it. Like, dead set, fell off the chairs onto the floor, laughing, go, don't you dare, Dad. Oh, that's so embarrassing, this and that. And I said, that's a good idea. So then that's how it started. Yeah. So then I organised to do a photo shoot on the day, and it was just, for me, it was about, a lot had to do with myself, just achieving a goal, because I was at a point in my life where I just needed something. I can't explain it. I just needed mentally to focus on something, and that's what I come up with. And then the second part of it was the photo shoot. I'll give it to Mum as a birthday present. This will be funny. Like, imagine her reaction when she opens it up. You know, it didn't stay a surprise for so long. She only took 1 or 2 weeks for her to find out.
But they went from laughing to being dead set excited. Like, if they were, they couldn't hold back their excitement when we were doing that, getting that photo shoot done in your dad's gym. Yeah. Like I remember clearly your wife, your daughters, your father, your friends standing at the entrance of the door to the gym and just looking at what was going on and the condition that you were in and being in absolute awe. Because what's remarkable is that there was no weight loss. See, the doctors instill this mindset in your brain that it's about weight loss all the time. It is if you're very large and your BMI is, really unhealthy. But when you get to a certain body weight, like when we're talking about 85 kilos or 83 kilos at your height, your frame, it's not about weight loss, because to lose more weight, don't eat. To gain weight, eat more. But to improve body composition, to get rid of fat and preserve or even gain muscle, that involves some science. And you didn't really lose weight over the 10 weeks, but boy, did you
it was amazing.
Transform.
And everybody says, how much weight did you lose to get that? And I go, I lost no weight.
Yeah.
Like just understand something. I've gone from eating 2 times a day, and I'm talking small portions, right, less than a cup, to following your nutrition plan of, I think it was 5 or 6 meals a day. Yeah. So in my eyes, I'm eating 10 times as much as I was eating. Yet for the first, I'd say 8 weeks, I'm lucky if I lost 1 kilo. Yeah. Right? And I've got to be honest with you, Mood, like even my wife, I'm starting to feel good. My wife going, this guy, and I say, look, Mood, he's really excited. This is what I'm achieving. She go, oh, this guy's just taking your money.
Yeah, he's taking the piss because you're not losing weight on the scale. So what's going on? Weight.
And I'd look at it and go, why are you so nasty? Yeah. He goes, nah, he's just telling you what you want to hear.
Yeah, just wait till the shirt comes on.
Trust in the process. That was the mindset. Trust in the process. Yeah. And that first 8 weeks, I'm down 1 kilo. But
the photos.
With the photos, and I'm taking the measurements. And I had my sister, Susanna, who you've spoken to, she'd put this image together of me week by week. So not just week 1 to week 2. It was week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5. And we did it every Friday, and we looked forward to Friday.
She put them side by side.
She put it all side by side.
She collated them nicely.
She did all that for me through that part of the journey, and we'd look forward to talking every Friday and having a look and compare. And she set up grid lines and everything to really work out the differences in the shape, so all the photos were consistent, just to keep me on track. And the measurements, and I was just amazed. I was losing no weight, but yet I was shrinking.
Yeah, in the right places.
In the right places, like all the area around the waist, the upper back where I was carrying. You made me do blood tests in the beginning. Yeah. I did the DEXA scan at the start.
Another blood test halfway through.
Yeah, and the DEXA scan at the end. And all that process was just a whole new learning experience for me. Like now, it's bad because I'm talking to people and they're like, I'm losing weight, I'm not eating. And I want to sit there and go, listen, you got to eat, you got to feed your body. But I'm not one to sit there and preach. I don't have the expertise either. But for my own knowledge, it's like, got to eat. And ever since this is finished, I've focused on having breakfast, having the right snack at mid-morning and then having the lunch and the afternoon snack.
That was one of the conditions. So I wasn't going to work with you from the start. And if you were going to call it, hang up the gloves at 10 weeks and then celebrate for 10 weeks afterwards. Yeah, you have, the weekend off and then back on schedule.
Do you remember we finished having a coffee and I rang my wife up and I said, listen here, I just finished with moods. There's a diet coming out of the diet?
Yeah.
He goes, what do you mean?
Yeah.
He goes, well,
Reverse
when you finish,
dieting.
I've got to give you another diet. And I'm like, this isn't over.
Yeah.
And he said to me, what do you mean? What are you going to eat? This is your lifestyle now.
Yeah.
Which, funny enough, I have adopted. But
it's a lot of calories though as well.
Yeah.
It's a decent amount of calories.
Yeah. But I'm still consistent with the training. Something that I just do with Dad every morning at 5:30 is like a kickstart our day. Yeah. But do you remember one coffee when you set me down? I think we were about week 5 or week 6, and you said to me, "Let's go through your day."
Yeah.
And I said, "What do you want to know?" And you said, "Well, tell me what you do through the day." And I said, "Well, just look at your plan."
Yeah.
And you went, "Yeah, but what's on plan and what you do is two different things."
Sometimes it's different, yeah.
Sometimes it's different. And what I answered, I said, just look at your plan.
Yeah, it's exactly the same.
I'm within 20 minutes.
To the T.
Well, what you tell me, within 20 minutes. And I'm talking the breakfast, I'm talking the teas, I'm talking when to take the supplements. It was just look at your plan moves. There's nothing for me to tell you. It's
textbook.
That's where we're at.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And the ripple effect that it's had on the people around you, and I've seen it, starting with your sister, who's on a journey now of her own. It's had such a profound effect, but not just on your immediate family, but on your staff as well.
Yep.
And that happened even before we embarked on the 10-week journey. Jason asked me to come past the office and give them a nutrition seminar and a workshop of some sort. And, man, we planned, and he asked me, how long is it going to take? Yeah. I said, well, I accommodate for about half an hour of me delivering content, maybe less, 25 minutes, but be prepared for questions that could drag this on for 3 hours.
Yeah.
And it did.
It did, 3 to 4 hours. And the office really got involved in it as well. But for many years, like you mentioned Nick earlier, Nick, this is his space. Like Nick,
absolutely,
Nick loves nutrition, loves training, really loves helping people. If he can see their fair income and want to go on a journey, and he's happy to assist. But just with people around him and generally the office space, like always recommending try this and try that. Or
he's a gem in that regard.
Yeah. And so we have his support in the office. The office are really very health conscious about what goes on as well. And there's never a day or a week in the office where there's not somebody in the office just trying to be healthier, just trying to make a difference to just a small way personally.
And it changes productivity levels so much because especially in the building game, the feedback that I get, and hopefully we get Nick on here soon, and even a dear friend of mine, Mr. Danny Abdullah, who embarked on a similar journey as yourself and got the entire team involved. Yeah. And what they would tell me about their organisations is that work starts early, 7 o'clock, but then by the time they have smoko, almost nothing gets done because smoko involves either a meat pie and sausage roll and a can of Coke, or for the Arabs it's some manouche or and a can of V. And then after that, the amount of work that occurs from smoko till 3 p.m. is probably about 20% of what gets done between 7 a.m. and 11 a.m.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's changed. That's changed, which is remarkable. That's one of the major reasons why I wanted to bring you on. Jason is a fine example of what the human being can achieve, what the human being can is capable of putting themselves through for the better, and the ripple effect that it has on everybody else around you. So it's not just a matter of achieving your goal and then hanging up the gloves. It is for you. However, if you don't share what you learn along your journey, then it is a complete waste, in my opinion. If you learn anything whatsoever, whether you learn something new about hydration, whether you learn something new about exercise, whether you learn something new about eye health, whatever it may be, share it, because if you don't, it dies with you and there's no point to that whatsoever. So I have to thank you greatly for coming on, sharing your story with us. And there's a lot of people that will relate to it. It's an intimate story. It's relevant to people who've done the surgery. It's relevant to people who are contemplating on doing the surgery. And it's just a reminder that, you can get shit done.
You can.
Yeah. So that's Jason's story. Thank you very much, guys, for listening. I look forward to seeing you again for the next episode. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you.